Hello to everyone in the internet, and you are watching The Young Globalist. I'm Nathan of Washington, fresh out of the shower, and it is time for the news. Rudy Giuliani says that Mueller will not subpoena Trump. That's right. They're considering a subpoena against Trump, and Rudy Giuliani's like, you better not. Oh, but you know they'll try it. Because the Democrats are being a butthurt bunch of babies. Why the Mueller probe existed in the first place. They're talking about subpoenaing Trump for disrupting the probe or obstruction of justice. But you know, it is absolutely foolhardy to pursue legal action against Trump. Because the man can literally afford a pretty badass lawyer. Let's face it, he's got a lot of money. And money buys you a damn good lawyer. Especially in this country. Honestly, lawyers are pretty much criminals. But you know, it is a true sign of maturity to learn to live with whoever gets office as president. They're your president, like it or not. If you're gonna whine about it, then you're basically a child. A child in an adult's body. Learn to live with it. Trump's your president. Stop probing him, stop subpoenaing him, just stop it. Maybe he did obstruct Mueller, and since it was in official capacity, maybe he should see some consequences. But Rudy Giuliani is a pretty badass lawyer, so Trump's probably in the clear. This is just showing how desperate and sad the Democrats are getting. Why would anyone in their right mind vote for them anymore? Ridiculous. Moving on. The European Commission has been making moves to discipline Italy over its budget. It's apparently been making some budgetary moves that could have a negative effect on the rest of Europe. And so the European Commission will, of course, therefore be probably sanctioning Italy. It's like, stop messing with your budget, Italy. And maybe you get to decide whether or not you get to eat tonight, you know? Because sanctions can sometimes affect a country's economy so badly people won't be able to get to eat. Imagine the U.S. has caused similar issues in the past. Why do mechas exist? Why don't countries just leave each other alone? There's our economy, then there's your economy. I understand that we can affect each other, but it would have less of an impact if we weren't in a mecha together, in an alliance. An alliance is sometimes necessary, I admit. But this nonsense of punishing each other with constant tariffs and sanctions it's ridiculous. You're not just affecting an administration when you choose to sanction someone. You're affecting an entire population. Some of them might end up starving to death because of your sanctions. So it's ridiculous. Moving on. Trump has been thanking Saudi Arabia for dropping oil prices. This comes shortly after the CIA with a link to the Saudi crown prince to the killing of the journalist Khashoggi. And how Trump decided not to pursue that link. Now, here's where Trump is basically a crafty-ass devil. Because if he had broke ties with the Sauds and pursued the idea of punishing them, oil prices would have risen considerably. Because that would have possibly resulted in the ousting of the crown prince. Trump knew. He knew this was going to happen. He knew it. He had some inkling and decided not to pursue the legal implications of Khashoggi and the Crown Prince. Otherwise, he knew oil prices would go shooting straight up. He knew it. This man is much more intelligent than people give him credit for. He even almost compared this dropping of oil prices to a tax cut in comparison. In a way, it kind of is, because it's having a tax cut-like effect. A well-executed tax cut-like effect, I mean. That Trump is a crafty, sick son of a bitch. And people do not give him nearly enough credit. He chose not to pursue the link for this very reason. I'm almost considering going out to buying a fucking MAGA hat. I'm wearing it around almost. But then again, I'll probably get harassed by the far left. Get beat up in the streets. Ugh. But still, man, this guy knows how to work with money, and why not? He's a businessman. Moving on. Emmanuel Macron is being investigated for mysterious campaign money. The money itself is a mystery fund with a total sum of 144,000 euros. The fact that they don't know where it comes from leaves two major possibilities: either a misuse of funds from somewhere else, or a possible indication of theft having taken place. I vote for either one of those. It doesn't really matter, because Macron is easily the dirtiest politician I have ever seen. Dirtier than Hillary. Not by much, but definitely still dirtier. If you think Trump is bad, Emmanuel Macron favors the rich socially and economically, and the recent shutdown of France, the entire country just completely shut down, happened under his leadership. Coincidence? I think not. Surely, I bet if you looked into the policy that caused the rise of fuel prices in France, you could link the policy back to him somehow. I guarantee it. I refuse to give this guy any breaks. He's an idiot. As to the 144,000 euro mystery fund, I'll look it up for you right now. 144,000 euros in US dollars. That is about $163,951,000.20. Good grief. Most of our politicians don't even get to raise that much for most of their funds. Yeah, no. With an amount like that, it must have been redirected from someplace else. I'm telling you, people. I'm telling you, if anyone in France is watching, your president, Emmanuel Macron, that guy is shady AF. I wouldn't trust him as far as I can throw him. And since I'm not a particularly strong guy, I won't be able to throw him at all. So I will not trust him at all. Moving on. Similarly, there's been a dubious donation of funds to the far-right alternative party in Germany from a Swiss company. You know, one of those famous Swiss bank situations. It was a pretty hefty sum too, although not quite to the 144,000 euro mark for Macron. So there's some dirty politics going on in Europe right now. Moving on. Nine people who paid homeless people either a dollar bill or cigarettes for fake signatures on ballot petitions in LA. That is something that has happened recently. These individuals, who I've chosen not to name, since there's a possibility I've considered that maybe someone could use that name for possible harassment, which is an action I do not support. But these people were caught doing this. And things like this have happened before. that either use names of people who are dead, and they get away with that, or they get hobos and bums to forge signatures for them. And when you've been homeless, haven't eaten anything, and you've been out on the street for a year, you're desperate, you're going to sign signatures. You're desperate to live, you're going to do it. Absolutely despicable. Moving on. Ayelet Shaked, I'm assuming I'm saying that right. Ayelet, A-Y-E-L-E-T, Shaked. Ayelet Shaked, Israel's Minister of Defense, recently said that Trump should not waste his time on creating a peace policy in Israel, believing that Israeli-Palestinian relations was a lost cause. She appears to kind of like Trump and is willing to work with him, but at the same time telling him not to waste his time. Because she apparently does not believe that peace is achievable. There's just too much difference between us and the Palestinians. And who knows, maybe that's true. But you know what, let Trump be the judge of whether or not his time is being wasted. Who knows, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Speaking of Trump's time being wasted, Matthew Whitaker has been receiving $1.2 million from a conservative nonprofit organization who got these funds through seemingly shady means. Like, this has been a theme of this episode, guys. Money coming to politicians from odd places. Of course, we don't actually know anything. We know even less about this group than we do the European groups, from Macron and the far-right Alternative Party in Germany. And get this, the company is called Foundation for Accountability and Civic Trust. That spells fact. That is funny, considering that most modern conservatives and modern liberals wouldn't recognize a fact if it came up and kissed them on the butt. Personally, I think they're casting shadows where there are none to be seen on this one. So it could be that the non-profit organization got through shady means, but it could also just be that the liberals are casting shadows on it and to weaponize that information for their own ends. I don't actually know that, but just consider the possibility. I'd say we wait until we know more. But $1.2 million for a personal political fund is not that big a figure. There's nothing compared to Emmanuel Macron's 144,000 euros. So I'd say let that be what it is for now. Moving on. Nancy Pelosi is now being backed by Obama and Brian Higgins. And they're all basically saying what Trump has said in his offer of support, but has not followed up on it, for becoming Speaker of the House of Reps. Saying that it's her turn, she deserves this, she's earned it. Now, Nancy Pelosi seems like a fairly okay politician, fairly honest and relatively straightforward. So I'd say she's earned it in that capacity. But let's not hold our breath. Let's wait and see what she does before we make that judgment as whether or not she's trustworthy or that she's actually earned it. But, you know, if she's being backed by Obama, well, that's a red flag in my opinion. But still, you know, Trump, he offered the support, so I suppose that's a positive. Much like the Matthew Whitaker situation, I suppose we just wait and see. Still, I suppose Nancy Pelosi seems like an alright sort for the most part. Anyway, folks, that's it for the Unglobalist. Tschüss.